What does it take to become a true yogi? I decided to try an experiment with yoga, so I joined real yogis. What does it really take to become a yogi? Is it possible to do it in 30 days? What can yogis do that someone who doesn't practice can't? I dedicated 30 days to this with a lot of focus. Stick around and see how far I got with it. Hello beings, welcome to The Experience. My name is Douglas Flamino. Today, you're going to see me here spending 30 days trying to become a yogi, practicing yoga, studying yoga. But first, give me a little like, come on, it's really cool. I know you can do this for me. Give a like here and comment Pocahontas. Well, who hasn't heard of yogis, right? If you don't know what yogis are, you know those guys who twist themselves all around, have mystical powers, and spit fire? Alright, fine. It's not exactly like that. The first thing I found out when starting this video is that yoga isn't exactly what I thought it was, right? I always thought it was just a bunch of weird poses with people all twisted like this and looking like JoJo, you know? Wow, that would be extremely innovative. JoJo pose class, 1 hour of JoJo poses. Then I found out that yoga isn't just those difficult poses and stretches. It goes way beyond that, way beyond that. And luckily, I have a great yogi friend whose name is Guilherme Romano. Guilherme has been a friend of mine for a long time now. I've recorded several videos with him for the channel and he's always willing to help with new ones. And this is the ultimate video in terms of how he could help me, right? It's his supreme specialty. So he created an entire study and yoga practice plan for my whole month. And during these videos, I decided to ask him some questions so that it's really clear to everyone what yoga truly is. Well, since we're on this topic, what is yoga? I'm here with Guilherme and I'm going to ask him a lot of questions. Okay, tell me first, what is yoga?
If we think about the etymology of the word, yoga comes from yurd, from Sanskrit, which means union. Of many meanings, it is the science that unites the self with oneself, the world, nature, others, and the divine. It is therefore a science of integration. This mind of ours that is shattered, fragmented among many desires, many memories, many dreams, many fears, many resentments, it's about stopping all this cacophony and finding an inner axis. It's not exactly about not thinking, it's a state of fullness, of presence. Yoga is the science behind of the big question, who am I? And the great dilemma, why do we suffer and how to deal with suffering? To get out of suffering, to create clarity and awareness about who we are.
See, I think even you didn't know exactly what yoga was, right? But what is the real purpose of yoga? I'm not going to ask Guilherme that, maybe he's biased. Let's ask artificial intelligence, right? Well, let's do it then. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT here. The possible benefits of yoga, because if I ask my yoga teacher, the answer could be biased, right? He would say, isn't it the most beneficial practice on the planet? So let's be very direct with the question. What are the scientifically proven benefits of practicing yoga? So let's go. Let's use the answer here. The benefits scientifically proven about yoga, so I decided to start my yoga practice and studies there at Guilherme's Institute, where on Tuesdays and Thursdays I was practicing Hatha Yoga and on Sunday mornings I was practicing Raja Yoga. What did I think of Hatha Yoga? It was the practice I did most. The yoga style I practiced most during these 30 days. And it's not because it's Hatha Yoga that all Hatha Yoga classes are going to be identical. It varies greatly between classes and teachers. But yoga, in a general context, I noticed that there is a small pattern that repeats in all styles of yoga, which would be the asanas, which are the positions. That's the part I think is most famous, right? A lot of people think that yoga is just postures and stretching, right? But it's not quite like that. There are stretching postures, balance postures, and strength postures, and some postures that require all three abilities at the highest level. There are some very difficult postures. It's for those who already are. At times in this business, there are impossible postures.
He's having a wonderful rest.
It's a resting posture.
Resting posture. At first, I struggled with the postures. I'm not a super flexible guy, let's put it that way. I'm not the stiffest either, but I'm also not super flexible. And to be honest with you, my first Hatha Yoga class, which started with postures, right? I found it pretty unpleasant. Usually we don't like what we can't do very well, right? So it gets a little frustrating, right? You see a room full of people managing to do it, super flexible, doing the postures, and you're there all stiff, so it was unpleasant. But even so, in the first class, I already realized how good this is. To prepare for meditation, it's as if these postures are a preview of what you'll go through later. Would go through, since we often spend a lot of time meditating, and we need to be in good physical condition to spend a long time sitting still. So these postures prepare us very well for that, and I had never done it before. So I didn't realize that the posture was for that, and actually even in the postures, if you can really concentrate, it also becomes a meditation, an active meditation. So over time, I learned to make the most of that period of postures and to be really present there and to use that as a meditation too, not just as a preparation. And then I ended up not caring anymore. If there are postures that I can't even get close to the maximum level, or that I can't do, or that I have to stay halfway, because that's my process. So it didn't become a frustration anymore.
And that you can rise up with your own feet off the ground. Lean until you realize you can stand up on your own. Use your hands to position your feet and hold the pose.
Then there are the pranayamas. Man, pranayamas, which are breathing techniques, are very powerful things. We can really change our emotional state, our physical state, just by breathing. Impressive. I've already learned some breathing techniques, since I've been curious about meditation for quite a while. But I've never really followed a proper practice like that, never followed the right method. And finally, meditation. And when you go to an institute to meditate, right, to take a yoga or meditation class, the meditation is guided by someone. And this, in my view, has both a positive and a negative side. Positive because you end up learning a new method of meditation. And the negative side, in my view, is that following a vocal guide can take away from your concentration a bit. I prefer to be in complete silence, but there are many people who end up getting lost and prefer a guide to meditate. But that doesn't mean you can't go very far with guided meditation. Yes, you can. I did it and got great results with guided meditation. Is yoga meditation though? What's the difference between yoga and meditation?
In practice, none. Yoga is meditation. Masters often say yoga is samadhi, the state you seek in meditation. It's just that here in the West, only a reduced and underused part of yoga arrived, which is hatha yoga, the part you see with stretches and so on. And that actually was designed by the masters both as a dynamic meditation and even more so, especially as a preparation for static meditations. Interestingly, many yoga practitioners, after years of practice and wanting to meditate, turn to Buddhist practices for meditation, when in fact the practices that originated within yoga itself, within Sanatana Dharma, within what we call the traditions and philosophies of Hinduism, also produced meditation. Well, actually, yogis have been the scientists of consciousness since time immemorial. And then it made little difference whether they were Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, from some other tradition, or from none of them. What they were interested in was finding out who, after all, am I? What remains when all the storms here subside, and when I look at the reflection of my own consciousness from a state of stillness. You could say that the yogis invented meditation.
I really discovered yoga at Guilherme's Institute during the Revolution of Self. However, he gave me several contacts so I could go to other institutes. So I went to practice hot yoga. Hot yoga is basically hatha yoga, but we do it inside a sauna. Man, hot. Well, about hot yoga, I didn't like it, honestly. I liked the class itself and the teacher, especially since I had classes with him somewhere else. So the teacher is good. I didn't like the sauna. It's obviously too hot, right? That's what the sauna is for, but we finished the yoga class in a puddle of sweat. man, you leave there soaked. And I found that really unpleasant. And at this place, I'm not going to mention the name, right? Because that would be negative publicity. At this place, there wasn't that much. The meditation period, there was even a relaxation period and everything, but I was expecting to have more time to meditate, you know? Because after those difficult poses, I was totally ready, and my goal was, man, now I'm going to sit here and meditate for half an hour. And there wasn't, so my expectations were let down, but anyway, I didn't like the excessive heat. Although the place's infrastructure is really nice, for those who like saunas, sometimes that's going to be the most interesting part. After that, I went to another place to try a technique that mixes different styles of yoga. The class with him was a mix of Iyengar yoga, which is a type of yoga that uses props. I found it really interesting. At first glance, yes, it looks like something that would hurt, but it's actually pretty cool to meditate upside down. Kundalini yoga and Hatha yoga, so I thought this mix was really interesting. There was a little meditation period, there were pranayamas, the full combo. I also did a practice here at home called Yoga Nidra, which would be yoga of dreams, yoga of sleep, or yoga of dreams. Something like that. Which is basically a relaxation technique to do before sleeping, and the hard part is not falling asleep during this technique. By the way, there will be a video coming up soon here on the channel just about yoga of dreams, and Guilherme will help me. Whoever watched my last video here on the channel saw me mentioning the techniques he gave me to try in lucid dreams. And we're going to make a video entirely dedicated to that, the experiences you can have with lucid dreams and what they mean. I'm going to show in this upcoming video the meanings of my dreams, right? I planned to do that here, but it would have made the video too long. So we decided to make an entire video about dream yoga and do more experiments that he suggests to me within a lucid dream. Go ahead and say how many types of yoga there are since you're talking about it.
Okay, look, in the original tradition, we can sum up, let's say, 5 types of yoga. Originally, Swami Vivekananda, the great master who brought yoga, if you can show this guy. So we can think of it like this. If yoga is the science of self-realization, it's a method with guidelines and limitations that leads to enlightenment. We could summarize 4 types of yoga and a few others. What are these 4? Bhakti yoga. You can get there through devotion. That's what you did with the Hare Krishna, remember? Karma yoga is the path of right action. Yes, doing good, practicing charity, loving your neighbor, and acting without expecting results can all be called yoga. Jnana yoga, which is the path of knowledge, which is studying the true nature of the self. Does that mean studying science? Not really. It would also involve studying the master's texts and teachings about the true self. Raja yoga, which is the royal yoga. Raja means royal, it means king. It's what brings all of these together, with meditation as the backbone. Now, moving into the 19th century and especially into the 20th century, when yoga arrives in the West, you have countless yogas all deriving from these main branches, mainly from Hatha yoga, which is this austere practice developed by the sadhus to train the body to endure long periods of meditation and to lead consciousness to samadhi. And then you have some really cool things like Iyengar yoga, Ashtanga yoga by Patabi Joyce, which are modernizations of this ancient yoga. There are some unusual things like beer yoga and goat yoga. Yep, that's doing yoga with a goat in the room. You will never see in any text any master saying something like put a goat on your back to do yoga. Take a sip of beer to do yoga. Stay in a room, even like hot yoga. Oh, the hot yoga people say, let's make a 40-degree climate-controlled room for meditation like the yogis. But yogis meditated in the below-zero Himalayas, my brother. The yogas are found across the whole subcontinent. Are you going to do hot yoga? Then do freezer yoga too. Go to a cold storage, do yoga there, right? You know? These modern things are highly questionable.
By practicing yoga at home, I achieved something I didn't expect so quickly, which is a technique called Shambhavi Mudra. Shambhavi Mudra, Shambhavi Mudra. I don't know the pronunciation, it's Sanskrit, so maybe that upward gaze, you know? You know when you see that yogi with wide eyes? He's doing the so-called Shambhavi Mudra. At first, when we're learning, it's uncomfortable to keep trying to look upward. But at some point, something clicks, and your eyes become relaxed in that position. And then you no longer feel the need to blink. It's bizarre. It's bizarre, but it's something you have to keep practicing and trying until you reach the point where you can do it comfortably. You don't have to do this with your eyes open, right? You can do this with your eyes closed, but aiming them upwards. And I realized that I was able to do this because I tried to do the practice, and after a considerable amount of meditation, I came back to myself and realized that I was like this. I said, wow, did I really spend all that time staring up without blinking? And then I decided to record myself to see if I was really able to hold this Shambhavi Mudra, and I was. For me, the weirdest part is losing the need to blink. You know that game, oh, whoever blinks first is gay. Man, any yogi will never be gay. The worst part is... No, I'm not going to say anything. Okay, getting straight to the point, during this whole 30-day period practicing yoga, what did I actually feel? I had a lot of benefits, some benefits that were less relevant, and some benefits that are really useful for life. The most relevant benefit was related to my mobility. My mobility improved considerably. But why do I consider it the least relevant? Because I realize it's something you lose very quickly. If I go 3 or 4 days without practicing anything, it seems like it comes back. And the more we go to the gym and do shortening movements, strength training, you lose it really quickly. So it's something irrelevant. It's very fleeting if you don't practice. Another benefit, I've been meditating for a long time and I do it really well. It's one of the things I do best. But for me to reach a state where I can really disconnect and meditate, I needed to spend at least 25 to 40 minutes meditating. Only then could I really start to disconnect, let's put it that way. And this pre-meditation process with asanas and pranayamas, that's a shortcut. So I end up reaching a good meditative state much faster. What used to take me 40 minutes to reach, now I get there in 15 or 20. And there's always discomfort in meditation if you're going to meditate for a long time. Your back starts to hurt, your legs start to hurt. For people who aren't very flexible like me, you end up reducing these discomforts too. It's very useful. So, if you're starting to meditate and you feel discomfort and think it's unusual, like, oh, I can't meditate because my back hurts, everyone will feel pain at some point. Some after a shorter time meditating, some after a longer time meditating, but it's a common thing, it happens to everyone. And for me, the best benefit that's in complete yoga, in meditation itself, it's how we manage to deal with our own emotions, it's the self-knowledge we gain because of it. You're there meditating, you're kind of looking inward, right? Focusing solely on yourself. That's basically the goal, right? It influences your life in many ways. Not just physiologically speaking, which science proves, right? It reduces the chance of heart problems, you improve your respiratory condition, blah blah. Besides the physiological condition, the way you act with people, the way you are, that gets better, as incredible as it may seem. You're there, just standing, looking inside yourself, and when you leave that place to live, you become a better person, little by little. Imagine that you're an observer. Anything you observe for a long time, you'll start to draw conclusions about that thing, right? And for a yogi, that thing is himself. He's looking inward all the time and learning about himself. So, when you start to understand yourself better, you start to find it easier to deal with problems. You start to have more compassion. That makes you a better person. Because what's the point of going there to meditate, I don't know, start levitating, spitting fire? Yoga fire. Come on, that would be cool, you can't ignore it. Let me give another example. What's the point of knowing how to do extremely difficult upside down stretching poses? You could be a jerk to others, even if you know how to do really difficult poses. So, if yoga is only serving for you to become... I'm sorry, but having good mobility is just nonsense, right? Now, have I reached a state of nirvana? Have I reached what's called samadhi? I don't think so. What would this samadhi be? The highest state of meditation, of yoga. And how do you get there?
Samadhi is a difficult word to translate. Some people translate it as integration or super-consciousness or super-consciousness. The various types of samadhi are the highest stage that a human mind can reach. of clear light, of perfect lucidity, of total presence in the here and now, of total identification with your real self. More or less, what happens is that the storms of the mind cease, and in samadhi, you see yourself in your true nature. Who are you? More or less, you could say that all the love, all the wisdom, the joy, all the happiness flood your heart and your consciousness. But the thing is, first, samadhi is not a thing. When you arrive, you realize it's not something new, but your natural state you've returned to. It's the primordial nature of all minds. And secondly, when you practice a lot, you find a place in consciousness where you no longer enter samadhi. I don't do it anymore, right? I'm just practicing and suddenly, boom, I'm taken by this state where my eyes don't blink, my heartbeat drops a lot, and my breathing almost stops. Right? Outsiders see it as a phenomenon, but insiders experience something even greater. Reality becomes far more luminous. Guys, if I wanted to convince you, I'd say that this is more beautiful than anything I've ever experienced. It's crazier than any ayahuasca, than any acid, than any substance. But what a master will say is that samadhi can't be a circumstance, it is your natural state. So you gradually enter samadhi, making it become more your present state. So the great masters, for example, interact with you and talk to you, but remain immersed in this I am consciousness. This absolute consciousness is what we call Satchitananda. The ultimate nature of consciousness is pure existence, consciousness, happiness, and bliss. This is the highest state of samadhi. And that's the thing, Douglas, that what does it take to truly practice yoga? It costs everything, because this is the real science of self-knowledge. It's not about the money, it's about the time and dedication. It's painful, takes time, and requires hard work, because you'll be dismantling the fake persona you created. Masters say, this I and mine you claim don't exist. You don't even know yourself. We'll start with the basics, like helping you understand your body, how you stretch, and how you breathe. Then, how your thoughts, desires, and everything else work. And you'll understand that you're much more than the phenomena that pass through your senses and your mind.
I think I've even had outside of yoga experiences sensations very similar to the reports of this so-called samadhi. I'm not sure. If I had reached it, I'd be confident enough to say yes. So since I'm not sure, I prefer to say no, but I'll keep meditating and see if it happens. Not that it's a goal of mine in meditation. I think my goal regarding meditation is already happening. So if I never reach samadhi, it's okay. I'll keep meditating anyway. And happy with that just the same, feeling totally fulfilled and reaping the good fruits of meditation and trying to influence as many people as possible to do it too. If there's a habit I'm the biggest fan of, it's meditation. I've already talked about this in videos here on the channel. In past videos, I made a list of good habits, and I always put meditation as the genesis of good habits, because it prepares you to be able to develop any other habit. So man, meditate, do yoga, study this field. It's worth it. It's really worth it. Here's one I'd really like to know. This guy, folks, can swallow his tongue, which is bizarre. What's the name of that thing again?
Khechari mudra.
Khechari mudra. Let's take a closer look. Is that okay?
Of course. It's a secret practice. Not so secret. Well, secret. Because it was a vidya, right? A secret knowledge that helps you produce a series of energies to make the energies flow in another way and lead you into samadhi. It's basically about placing your tongue inside the nasopharynx, letting it go up there into the... Douglas can put up some illustrations later. Take a look.
Look, his tongue is above the throat. That's really weird. Is that necessary? Like lotus, those more complicated things to learn?
No. Look, I've been a yoga practitioner for 17 years and I make that my main practice in life. So yes, these more secret practices you will learn as you progress. And I do long practices. I did retreats where I stayed around 4 or 5 bonfires plus the sun for 5 days without getting up from sunrise to sunset. I did retreats in a cave from sunrise to sunset, but that's for people seeking deeper practices. You can get results with meditation and yoga with a daily practice of 20 minutes. In fact, you can achieve considerable changes in the brain at the level of neuroplasticity, improved well-being, reduced stress, improved self-esteem, and improved perceived well-being with these 20-30-minute practices. So you don't need to do anything too complicated. Find a type of yoga that helps you notice something that is the main emotion, which is the basis of all our emotions. It's called Shantarasa, which is serenity, it's peace. Even someone who talks fast like me can enjoy these states. I've joked with Douglas and my friends that I'm the best at the masters ever created. Because I'm a guy diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and other things, right? Other neurodivergences, other abilities. But in fact, I know that I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and can meditate, so anyone can.
About the Institute, how do people meditate here? Since I gave wrong information, I'm asking him to explain directly for clarity.
Well, guys, the Revolução de Si Institute is a school of consciousness that, besides meditation, offers several other practices and courses you can take. You can start meditating with us by joining the online Wednesday groups. And it's free, you just need to sign up. You can reach out via the Instituto Revolução de Si Instagram page or my page, guilhermeromano.official. And the most consistent course for those who want to follow the path of true yoga, doing the physical practices, meditation, and studies. It's on Sundays, Radia Yoga and the Revolution of Self. It happens every Sunday from 8:30 in the morning to 11:30. And then there's a part with physical practice, meditation, the class on the text we're studying, and satsanga, right? The conversation afterward about the text. And to sign up for a trial class, there's also a form on our page. You can join online or in person at Muka. We're opening a new location soon. Just come on Sundays, sign up, and watch to see if you like it. The price of these classes? All funds go to Institute maintenance. All teachers, myself included, volunteer. And this is a course for those who truly want to be seekers. In addition to this Sunday course, there are other courses on our page. Meditation courses of various types, such as the Meditation Journey, the Secret of the Chakras, and the Pranayama course. There are also the retreats that we organize. Yeah, and then there are the other courses and activities that we announce from time to time.
Well, that's it for the video. A big thank you to everyone involved in this video. And to you who watched. If you liked it, leave a like. See you in the next experiment.
Bye.
I think the other side is better. Because then the hip is more locked.
Did you hear a crack? This one is really cool. There's an anime called Baki. Wow. That's enough, man. We end up dripping, literally. We end up on top of a pool of blood. Oh my god, that's horrible. Sweat, a pool of blood? Damn, think of a tough yoga.